Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Multiverse Report. We are recapping the week's nerdy news from Lothlorien to the forest moon of Endor and everywhere in between. My name is Mike Gibson. I'm one of your co-hosts. With me, as always, is Steve Haller. What's up, Steve?
Nothing much, buddy. Apparently, not a whole lot in the world of nerddom on the surface either, but I think we're going to take a little deep dive this week.
Yeah, a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that we're going to talk about. Nothing huge breaking, no big castings necessarily. And as we get to, when we get into one-shots, you'll see we're talking about some things that aren't being filmed specifically.
Right.
Which is interesting thing to talk, an absence of something to talk about. And we're also going to do our reactions and review of the second episode of Book of Boba Fett at the end of this show. So tune out before then if you haven't watched the most recent episode of Star Wars Book of Boba Fett on Disney Plus.
Yep. And as always, we'll give you a nice warning to get the hell out of here.
Yes, of course. I don't know. Steve, let me know. We have a few more weeks to decide on a real topic, but I was so happy with calling our Hawkeye review segment Hawkeye Talkeye.
Yep.
I was trying to come up with a similar thing. So my pitch for this week is calling it Boba Fett. Seen it yet? Because it rhymes. Not quite as good as Hawkeye Talkeye, but that's what I got.
I think we'll run with it. We'll workshop it at least.
We'll see if we can come up with another one by next week.
Yeah, by the end of the series, we'll have it nailed down.
We'll have a real good one. But yeah, so end of the show, we'll be doing Boba Fett, seen it yet, and we'll tell you to tune out before then. By the way, Steve, you are sporting quite the mustache, my friend.
Oh, absolutely.
Those of you that maybe are listening to this and not watching us on Twitch or on YouTube, just great, like handlebar, old-timey Wild West mustache.
Yeah, I figured I'd go for a little classic change up. So
yeah,
channeling my inner Grief Karga.
Sure. I don't get that reference.
Mandalorian, the what's his name? The guy who played the guy from Rocky. Carl Weathers.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
There we go.
Steve, I don't know if I should say this. You might be about to scream at me. I'm not sure. I've never seen Rocky.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
The original one's actually a good movie.
No, I know. It's a classic, and I need to watch it. And I know
the
that
other 17 are the other 17 are like whatever they are. Like 4, if you want jingoistic nationalism that actually turns into a fun movie, 4 is pretty good. But
I don't know about that.
It's
I
was
do
a product of the times.
I do want to watch the Creed movies though, because I've heard they're good, and I haven't seen those either because I haven't seen the Rocky movies. I feel like I don't want to jump in with Creed. I want to at least watch the first one.
Right.
So I don't know. I feel like at this point in my life, I don't have too many movies on my list of like movies that you get yelled at by other people for not having seen.
Yeah.
But that's definitely one of them that will get people yelling at me when I confess that I haven't seen Rocky. Anyway,
another movie that we're not going to be seeing soon.
Great segue. That's right. Morbius The Living Vampire. Is the movie that Steve and I have been talking about a lot recently because it's supposed to come out January 28th, right, Steve?
Nope.
No. But wait, Steve, hasn't this movie was supposed to come out in July of 2020? Hasn't it already been delayed and pushed 7 times already?
Yeah, 7 times the charm. And even better for pushing this, Sony has officially announced that they are pushing the release of Morbius The Living Vampire to April Fool's Day 2022.
So can we even really trust it? Can we even really trust it?
Does that date exist?
This is crazy.
Yeah.
This is crazy to me. Why? Why are they doing this? I don't think it's because of COVID, although even though COVID numbers are crazy up there, I don't think we haven't really seen movie theaters reacting to that. And I think a lot of it is because of another Sony movie, a little I don't know if you may have heard a little independent film called Spider-Man No Way Home.
Quite the little ditty.
Well. Yeah, very well at the box office. And I can't imagine. I don't know. I was gonna say I can't imagine that they push this because of COVID, because it is Spider-Man adjacent. And you would think that there's such a fervor for Spider-Man right now that if there was like another Spider-Man-ish thing, it would maybe get more butts in seats than maybe they expected it to.
Yeah, you would think. And at the same time, I mean, Morbius, for anyone who's followed the comics, they know who Morbius is. But for John Q. theater goer, do they know that Morbius is tied to the Spider-Man universe? Do they have any clue of any of that? Like, it's not like Spidey's showing up, which we've talked about numerous times.
If they've seen other recent Spider-Man movies, and if they've seen the trailers for this movie, then they should be aware of that, because they reference Venom in the trailer. There's an Oscorp building, and there's
Vulture.
A picture he runs. Michael Keaton is Vulture's in the trailer. I mean, we assume he's Vulture.
Well, he's
and
Batman.
He runs past pictures of that would be amazing. He runs past a picture of Spider-Man with the word murderer on it. So like, they were trying to tell you that without being like, yo, this is a Spider-Man movie blatantly, but they're trying to tell it. Actually, it's pretty blatant, to be honest with you. So like, it was January 28th for so long, and they even released a new trailer for this. Like,
oh yeah, that was pretty complete. Like CGI, everything was in.
Yeah,
like so it was polished.
I would be surprised if at this point they were like, nah, this movie's bad, we have to re-edit it, or we have to like do something to make it better. I feel like it's locked at this point. It must have been already locked. Unless, well, I saw some person on Twitter saying that it might be because they want to give Spider-Man No Way Home more room at the box office to like. I don't think Morbius is going to take viewers away from Spider-Man No Way Home. Like, no. I don't think they're intertwined. I don't think that's a thing.
And I think we've determined at this point that Spider-Man No Way Home is just its own animal.
Yeah, okay. I'll say this right now. It was in our one-shots. I'll scroll down so we don't have to say this later. It was our last one-shot of this episode was going to be that as of today, Spider-Man No Way Home has entered the top 10 all-time global box office at number 8. And at domestically, just the United States is number 6.
Yeah, and that's all-time.
That's all-time box office. They're like the only two Marvel movies ahead of Spider-Man No Way Home is Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
And Avengers Endgame is number 2 currently because Avatar got a re-release and ticked back up to beat Avengers Endgame again, which is a bummer. But so I don't think there's no way they would be so concerned about Morbius the Living Vampire.
No.
Cutting into Spider-Man's box office. So I don't think that. I feel like this is just gut reaction for me. I don't know much about the movie industry or anything, but like, is there a chance that they are? I know a little bit about the movie industry. It's not like I'm completely in the dark, but like, is there a chance? I've never worked in the movie industry officially, I should say. Is there a chance that they are adding something to this movie because of the success of Spider-Man No Way Home, where they want to tie it in further? Are they adding a post-credit scene? Are they adding, I don't know, some other Easter eggs in some way to like tie it in? Are they putting an actor from Spider-Man No Way Home in this movie somehow? Like, and that's why it's April, because like, if they were moving it for COVID, I don't think they would move it that far. If they're nervous about COVID, I feel like they'd bump it to like
February,
the next
March,
month or March or something. But like April, I mean, I guess April 1st isn't too far away from March. Obviously, it's a day away. But, but still, it just seems like they bump it like a few weeks and not 3 months or whatever.
Right. So, especially watching, Spider-Man No Way Home be the box office king of COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
Like people are becoming more comfortable with going to see movies. I'm not, but people are.
Right. I'm less comfortable going to see movies than I was when I went to see Spider-Man No Way Home.
Right.
Because just in that short amount of time, the numbers have really skyrocketed because of the new variant. But because of that I can't imagine that it's because of COVID, because Spider-Man No Way Home is proving that people will go, but they will go to see a huge blockbuster that brings villains in from other franchises that they loved from when they were younger, like things like that. I don't think Morbius is doing that. They're bringing in Michael Keaton from an adjacent existing franchise.
No, but you know what they could have done if they really wanted to market Morbius the Living Vampire was use him as one of the Sinister Five from the movie.
Yeah, they really could have done that. Yeah, spoiler alert for No Way Home. Jared Leto is not in it as Morbius the Living Vampire. I don't think anybody expected him to be.
No.
So, I mean, I don't know. This is weird, but it's a bummer because honestly, the trailers I've seen for Morbius, they look good.
Yeah, for as not excited as I was about the movie, it kind of brought me around to at least wanting to see it. Like, I wasn't going to rush out to theaters, but I at least wanted to get a look at this thing. And it's going to be apparently longer until we get a look at this thing, especially the way Sony's streaming stuff works.
It looks better than Venom 2, like hands down, which I still haven't seen. Have you seen Let There Be Carnage yet?
No,
me either. I was thinking about renting it the other night, and I ended up not doing it.
Oh, it's available to rent? I may actually do that then at some point.
Yeah. I think it was like $6, $5 on Amazon Prime or something.
Probably worth that.
I think it's worth it. You and I should pick a date and watch it, and then talk about it.
Yeah.
6 months later.
Do our standard. And February 1st, The Eternals is dropping, so we're going to be all about...
They'll be on the edge of their seats.
Absolutely.
For our 6 months late Eternals review. Not 6
months.
Yeah,
we just need to market... Right? Yeah, we just need to market this as the COVID podcast for all you nerds out there.
Yeah. Agreed. So I don't know why this is... I mean, the other possibility is that they think it's a better movie than everyone else thinks it is, and they think it has a chance to do do good numbers. And statistically, movies that are released in January is typically seen as like a dumping ground for so-so or bad, mediocre movies that studios just need to offload. They just need to release them because no one really goes to the movies in January. That's a true statistic. So a lot of times movies coming out in January, it's because it's not great. Obviously, there are exceptions to that rule. The new Scream movie comes out next week, and I've heard nothing but great reviews about it. So,
there you go.
It's not always the case, I guess. And, February used to be the same thing, too, until Deadpool came out in February and Black Panther came out in February. And they're like, oh, okay, I guess this isn't the case anymore, too. So, I don't know. Maybe they're looking at Spider-Man No Way Home. Maybe they're re-editing. Maybe they're doing a post-credit scene. Maybe they're not. Maybe they just think, this is actually a pretty good movie, and, we think it has a good chance of doing some numbers if we move it to April. But I guess maybe we'll never know. Maybe we'll never know why. And
I mean, they're on lucky number 7, so where do we go from here?
I don't know, Steve, but I guess I look forward to 3 more months of talking about Morbius the Living Vampire with you before it is released in theaters.
Yep, something like that.
Something like that.
But another movie that got moved.
Yeah. Yep, but not 7 times. Just once.
No, just once.
Just the once. Is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Also sticking with the Marvel universe for a while, specifically the MCU. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, directed by Sam Raimi. We found out this week that, the trailer came out. Was it last week? We got the official trailer, which was basically the post-credit scene. And we talked about it. Good looking trailer. In couple of scenes from that trailer, Doctor Strange seems to be fighting a giant monster that looked very familiar. And Steve, you threw out this name like it was total common knowledge, and I pretended that I knew what you were talking about, but I didn't at all. A monster that apparently is referred to as the Shuma Gorath.
Yeah, so Shuma Gorath was one of the, I guess, omnipotent, like elder god type beings in the Marvel multiverse. I think, what was it? It was the Great Old Ones, they called them, or something along those lines. But they ended up showing what everybody thought was going to be Shuma Gorath in What If Episode 1 when they grabbed Agent Carter.
The tentacles. Yeah.
And then I didn't see the rest of What If, but apparently Shuma Gorath does exist and was referenced or was apparently in What If. And then they showed up in Multiverse Madness, and apparently, because Lego puts out sets based on all these movies,
always spoil it. The toys are always
always
the spoilers that you're not expecting.
So the Lego set was anyone who knows Marvel movies or Marvel comics knew that it was Shuma Gorath, and then the Lego set got dropped, and it was referred to as Gargantos. Gargantos. Yep. So apparently Shuma Gorath was a name that got lifted by Marvel Comics from the original Robert E. Howard Conan the Barbarian stories. So a copyright claim has, or I don't know whether it was a claim or they just did it because they knew there was going to be a claim type thing. But from this point forward in the MCU, Shuma Gorath will be referred to as Gargantos.
Yeah. Two things for me. And I was not familiar with Shuma Gorath.
Yep.
I'm not passionate about a giant one-eyed tentacle monster as a character necessarily. I'm sure somebody out there is. Someone out there I'm sure is very mad about this change. It annoys me for two reasons. One, Marvel publishes Conan the Barbarian comic books. Yep. He's like in Savage Avengers. So clearly they got some kind of deal worked out with the estate of Robert E. Howard. Maybe it's just for that character. I don't know, but you'd think they already have that existing relationship. They could be like, yo, can we get this name also? And we'll give you credit or we'll pay you, like you're Disney. You got billions of dollars. Like
we'll just throw money at it and call it a day.
Throw some money at it and get the right character name. So one, that's the thing that bothers me. Two, if you're going to change the name, Gargantos is like...
Okay, I wasn't the only one that had that thought. All right,
dude,
cool.
That is the most like 1950s B movie monster name.
Oh,
ever.
It's 100% a villain for Godzilla.
Yeah, and like Shuma Gorath sounds like an ancient mystical magic spell name or something that would exist in the real quote unquote real world, I guess. But like Gargantos is like Mystery Science Theater monster movie level name. So I don't know. Can't wait to hear Benedict Cumberbatch say the word Gargantos with a straight face in Multiverse of Madness.
Oh, I could totally picture it now. The Lovecraftian beast Gargantos. What?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's a thing. As someone who knows Shuma Gorath or knows who that character is, he even a character?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so he's an actual character. Okay.
Yep.
Are you offended or enraged by this name change?
I'm relatively indifferent and mildly laughing over it mostly because of what we just talked about, the change to Gargantos.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know. And now all I'm thinking of is Gargantos the Fresh Maker. It's like a Mentos playoff. Also dating myself on the mid-90s Mentos commercials. But yeah, I mean it kind of sucks just because it is an established character. But I mean they did it in Ant-Man and the Wasp or Ant-Man or whatever iteration when the Microverse got turned into the Quantum Realm.
Yeah, they couldn't call it the Microverse. That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean it's happened in the past. It'll happen in the future, but they could have gone with a little better name.
Yeah.
Gargantos.
Yeah, but this is also the first time that they're using a character, albeit like a minor character. It's not like they're calling Tony Stark Bob, I don't know, Fleming or whatever. That would be hilarious though.
the new Iron Man, Bob Fleming. Fleming Industries.
For no reason, Steve Rogers is just Drake Marzipan. I don't know. But I get it. I'm sure if there's like diehard Doctor Strange fans out there, they're mad that like this recurring character villain is not going by its actual name. That's the bummer.
Yeah,
for sure.
So
anyway, watch out for those toys, guys. Those toys will spoil you. I guess not really a spoiler in this case, just more like a letdown. But like, there's been like character reveals via toys or like costume reveals and stuff via action figures or like Lego sets and stuff. So like that's the one thing you got to look out for when you're trying to avoid all spoilers for a movie. Like I was in the Target with my son the other day. He was buying a new Lego set and there was a full Batcave set from the Batman film, and it had all they just released like quality photos of like Riddler and Penguin this week, I think, because we see him a little bit in the trailer, but like this was like full light, full body photo. But if you're avoiding all spoilers for something and you don't want to see what Riddler looks like or what Penguin looks like or whatever, then this Lego set had like a full like, here's the Riddler wearing his weird mask and weird trenchy coat thing, looking like the Zodiac killer.
Right.
But anyway, just a tip out there.
If you don't want to be spoiled, don't go down the toy aisle.
Yeah, exactly. So moving from Marvel into some DC talk.
Well, actually, you know what? One more Marvel thing. I wanted to segue it off of Morbius, but you've told me in the past it was good. But I'm playing through Sony's Spider-Man video game for the first time ever. Yeah. Because I never had a PlayStation 4. My buddy told me this, and I'm of the ilk that he was right. The game might be the best Spider-Man movie that's been made.
Yeah, dude, I know. It's so good. It's so good.
Like, I'm like 60% of the way through, and it's already just like, it holds you, and it's a good story. Yeah. And now I want that to be how Miles ends up coming into the MCU.
Right. Like, yeah, I know. Yeah, it's so good. It's like it's like real character development for Peter Parker, but also like the introduction of Miles, and like, how cool is Mary Jane? Oh yeah, in that game, they like give her stuff to do. Absolutely. She's not just like a gorgeous model or whatever that gets in trouble. She's like an investigative reporter,
sneaking around everywhere, and you get to control her and Miles and everybody, and it's fun. Yeah, they did a really good job.
Yeah, if anyone out there hasn't played that game, highly recommend it. And the Miles Morales game that came out also. It's a shorter game, but it's still super fun. And yeah, I had to force myself to stop playing. I had beat the main campaign and I was doing all the side quests. And I was doing this thing where I was doing mostly side quests instead of finishing the game because I loved the game so much that I was like, I want to make it last longer. Like I can't I don't want it to be over. I want to keep going. But then I realized if I don't stop playing this game, I will never in my life watch another movie or read another book or write another song or play another song, like anything else. Like this has been monopolizing every night of my life since I started playing it, and I need to finish this campaign so I don't feel the need to keep playing it every single night. It was that good. I've just recently started playing the Guardians of the Galaxy game on my brand new PS5. Thank you again for the hookup on that.
I finally, after buying 5 of them, kept one for myself. So
congratulations. And that is excellent as well. It's so super fun. It's more in line with the versions of the characters that you kind of want them to be, like the movie, basically. Like Guardians of the Galaxy were such like, D-list characters when they got their own movie, that like the movie versions are kind of like the definitive versions of those characters. Yeah.
And even the modern, like the latest run of comics leans on that too.
Yes. Yeah. Every comic since the movie came out. Yeah. And that's not often that happens. I think that happened with Tony Stark. They all write him like Robert Downey Jr. talking now.
Mm-hmm. And the same, flavor saver and whatever. It's official that's it.
But you could also argue that there are other runs of Iron Man that are the definitive Iron Man over the movie. Or same with like Captain America, because those characters have been published for so long and have been mainstream for so long, which I think is why part of the reason why the Avengers game didn't strike the gold that people thought it was going to or wanted it to, because like it's like they're trying to be the MCU, but they're also trying to do their own thing. It's kind of like you got to either lean into the MCU thing or make it completely different, and it's just like a little.
And it was a lot more on rails compared to Spidey.
Oh, like, yeah.
Spidey, you can do whatever you feel like. Like you could not even, like you said, you could not even do the actual game. Yeah, yeah. And just sit there for days.
But also, Guardians is not an open world game.
Oh yeah.
But is much more I'm finding it much more enjoyable, and I don't know, they like captured kind of the essence of the characters and the comics and the movies all at the same time in a way that the Avengers game did not do.
Perfect.
But anyway, yes, I'm glad that you're enjoying that game. It's so awesome. All right, now moving from Marvel to DC, we got another quote. And this is like kind of like two stories because we're talking about the Flash and we're also talking about kind of the future of the DC universe in general, which really we're always talking about when we're talking about the Flash because we are pretty sure at this point that those two things are intertwined. So for those of you that may not be following, fandom or film news, things like that, as much as we here at the Multiverse Report do, you may not be aware that there is a very loud and sometimes aggressive group of people online that really, really, really want Zack Snyder, the director of Batman vs. Superman and Zack Snyder's Justice League, to return to the DC and Man of Steel, to return to the DCEU, DC Extended Universe of films, and to continue to make movies in that world. Warner Brothers has pretty much said, we're done working with this guy. They did not have to bring him back to make his own version of Justice League. They did, which was great. I really like that movie very much. And they have made it pretty clear that they don't intend to bring him back to do a sequel or anything more or guide the universe in any way. A lot of reports seem to indicate that they regret giving him the keys to their castle so early on when he made Batman vs. Superman, or right after Man of Steel.
Right.
Man of Steel, I really like. I think Man of Steel is very good, and it was a very good kickoff to the DCEU.
I mean, of the 3 movies he's done, 2 of them were good, and one of them was Batman vs. Superman. Like,
that's a very debatable. There's tons of people that love that movie hard, and like, if you love that movie, great. It doesn't really work for me that well.
Then, much like your prequels take, I completely disagree with them. Those people are wrong.
So anyway, I can't say that every member of this group of people they use the hashtag Restore the Snyderverse a lot. So I guess we can refer to them as Restore the Snyderverse people. So Restore the Snyderverse people, some of them are so dedicated to this happening that they also are very big fans of Ben Affleck as Batman. Some of them will go so far as are calling for boycotts of the Matt Reeves, Robert Pattinson, The Batman film coming out in March, because they would rather that be a Ben Affleck solo movie. They want Zack Snyder to return and do a sequel to Justice League and everything else. And they want other DC films. Again, this is not everybody. I'm sure that not everyone associated with that hashtag is like this, but a number of them are actively campaigning for other DC films that are not directed by Zack Snyder, which at this point are all of the ones that are going to come out, to fail. They're rooting for them to fail, planning to bomb Rotten Tomatoes with bad reviews of movies like The Flash, Batgirl, Blue Beetle, things like that, because they are not made by Zack Snyder, I guess. Even though, like I mentioned on the podcast before, they're saying they restore the Snyderverse, but the Snyderverse necessarily isn't going anywhere because Zack Snyder's responsible for casting Gal Gadot, responsible for casting Jason Momoa, responsible for casting Ezra Miller as the Flash. These are like 3 main members of the Justice League. Honestly, I think Henry Cavill's going to come back as Superman eventually. At this point, it's been so long that we haven't got a definitive answer. I think the door is still open. I think it's likely that we will get him back, and I'm hoping they do not tell us that he's coming back, and I hope it's a huge reveal in whatever movie it happens in. Anyway,
as long as he's Geralt of Rivia, I don't care.
Yeah, I'm sure that he can do both those things.
He's been doing it for a while, and I think he's strong enough to handle that.
Yeah, I think he can. Anyway, that's a little beside the point. Anyway, all this to say is that a number of times now, Ben Affleck has said that he's done playing Batman. We've reported a quote recently on this show where he said that he doesn't even want to do any big IP movies anymore. He's done. He wants to do like independent stuff. Anyway, he gave another quote this week about his role in The Flash. As we know, Ben Affleck's last appearance in the DCEU as Batman will be in the upcoming Flash movie that comes out later this year, late 2020. Also, Michael Keaton will be reprising his role as Batman in The Flash. So excited about both those things because I also really like Ben Affleck as Batman, and I love Michael Keaton as Batman since I was, 10 years old or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, super excited about that. So excited to see a movie with 2 Batmen in it. I never thought that would happen. So anyway, this is what Ben Affleck recently said about his role in The Flash. I have never said, quote, I have never said this. This is hot off the presses. But maybe my favorite scenes in terms of Batman and the interpretation of Batman that I have done were in the Flash movie. I hope they maintain the integrity of what we did because I thought it was great and really interesting. Different, but not in a way that is incongruent with the character. Who knows? Maybe they will decide it doesn't work. And when I went and did it, but when I went and did it, it was really fun and really, really satisfying and encouraging. And I thought, wow, I think I have finally figured it out. Figured it out, meaning figured out how to play Batman.
You know,
cool
as he steps away.
As he steps away, but like he wasn't even planning to come back for this movie. He was already done after Zack Snyder's Justice League. That was the last time he thought he was going to play Batman. They talked him into coming back for The Flash, apparently because whatever he's doing in it is so cool, and he clearly really, really liked it. Now, you would think that this would appease Restore the Snyderverse people. It seems to not have, as some of them now are claiming that he's lying, that Warner Brothers told him to lie about it and is paying him to lie about it because they want the Flash to fail. I don't think there's a chance that Flash is going to fail, and I'm not trying to upset any Restore the Snyderverse people that disagree with me, but like, yo, if you think about it, this is the first cinematic cinematic solo movie of the Flash, who was great in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Got one of my favorite superhero movie moments of all time is in Zack Snyder's Justice League, and it's about the Flash towards the end of that movie. I think it's incredible. He's getting his own movie. Plus, Supergirl is going to be in this movie. Cinematic debut of live-action Supergirl. Oh, no, that's not true. They made a Supergirl movie in the 80s. So never mind. Second and first in a long time, I could say.
Right.
Cinematic appearance of Supergirl. Plus, Ben Affleck as Batman. Plus, Michael Keaton's coming back as Batman. Like, yo, there's people that are going to lose their minds. There's people out there right now that don't know that any of that is happening. And when they see a trailer for The Flash, they're going to lose their minds. And I don't know. I think Ben Affleck saying this just makes me so much more excited to see The Flash and see his part in it. Because what's that going to be? He says it's the best version of his Batman that has happened yet.
Right.
What? Like, say what you want about Batman versus Superman. Affleck is great in that movie.
Yeah.
And, he's great. His version of Batman has been great. So, I don't know. I guess I don't really know what point I'm trying to make with the Restore the Snyderverse movement, but one, I don't think that's going to happen. And I think they could maybe just look at this and say, this is going to be a good, fond farewell for our favorite Batman. And, and there's rumors that the Flash is going to erase the Snyderverse. Again, I don't think that's possible because you still got Gal Gadot, you still got Jason Momoa, you still got Ezra Miller in the Flash. Like, I don't think that's going to go away. I may rewrite the main continuity, but I don't think it's going to like completely vanish from the quote unquote DCEU multiverse. So we don't know what this movie's going to do, but honestly, every quote I hear about it, everything that's announced about it just makes me more and more excited to see it. And I can't wait to see it. Obviously this quote is bad news for people that are hoping that Ben Affleck sticks around, but he has said a number of times that he's done. And, that is a bummer for people that want him to return to the role for sure. But I don't think he's coming back.
No, and I mean, if he's not coming back, then he's not coming back. And if he's saying that, then that's probably what's going to happen.
Probably what's going to happen. Yeah.
But if he's going out with a mic drop, the way it sounds from the quote, that's a whole different ballgame too.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I'd rather see him go out with the finest work he's ever done as Batman than with, he had a pretty good send-off in Zack Snyder's Justice League, although it's not really a send-off because Zack Snyder's Justice League was written to be sequelized, and that's not going to happen. So it kind of left a lot of things open.
Yep.
And this seems like it's going to have a finality to it, possibly. Well, I guess we don't really know. He just says it's his best work. But, like, I don't know. I'd rather go out with a guy saying I did my best work in this movie as this character, and now I'm done, rather than, he says he had a good time on Zack Snyder's Justice League too, so great, but he didn't say that it was his best time as Batman.
Right.
So.
And we've just seen, we literally just saw last month and talked about earlier in the cast, a movie that was effectively the send-off for one version of Spider-Man, and you know, a reboot for another, and it involved multiverse stuff, and it's almost like, you know, they can pull it off. And if Affleck can do with his role of Batman what Garfield did for all of us, of like, oh wow, I really like that version of Spider-Man, then
are we doing spoilers for No Way Home now?
I think, yeah, at this point, I guess we are. If you haven't seen No Way Home and somehow have avoided the fact that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are in it, I just spoiled it for you.
Wow, you really did. You didn't even give a spoiler warning on that sentence.
No.
Wow, man.
No. I ripped the Band-Aid off because apparently 6.x million or billion, whatever it was. Oh, no, the number 8. It is now the number 8 most watched movie of all time. So,
yeah.
I think enough people, if somebody's listening to this, they probably are okay, or I'm sorry. And you're probably not listening again. Yeah, we'll go with that.
We'll go with that.
I'm gonna stop digging myself deeper, but yeah, we have seen the multiverse is able to work, at least in one movie, where that goes on the other side of the pond. Who knows? But if this can be a good send off for Affleck, and you know, maintain other things moving forward, you know, I'm sure Keaton may not reprise his role. Keaton may reprise his role. Who knows?
Well, he is. We are going to be in Batgirl.
Oh yeah. So, but well, now that we're coming out of this, though, do we know that's the same Michael Keaton Batman, or if it's just a Michael Keaton Batman that looks like him? Wheels within wheels, man. Wheels within wheels.
Dude, it's the same thing we were saying about No Way Home.
Yep.
In that, like, it's a multiverse thing. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what the fallout for this movie is going to be. That is the exact same attitude that I have about The Flash. Like, we have no idea. I feel like it's going to be visually spectacular, or it should be, or kind of needs to be.
Yeah.
And we don't know what's going to happen.
No, I'm more excited for this than I have been for any DC movie. And I don't know if that just means I've been hanging out with you too much, or it actually looks good. And probably a combination of both.
Yeah, I can't wait till we get a full, like, actual, like, a story trailer or something, so we get a little bit more of it. It'd be great. Anyway.
Yeah, the Flash is going to turn into what No Way Home was, where like the 6 months or when's it coming out?
I think late 2020, like possibly November or December.
Yeah. So like from spring leading all the way up to it, we're going to be talking about it weekly. Like something will come out, and
I hope that there's not as many like leaks or rumors about it. I hope they're a little able to keep the lid on a little tighter than. Imagine, like, again, I'm not going to give any spoilers for Spider-Man No Way Home that haven't already been given.
I was going to say, it's already pretty toast at this point, so.
Imagine a world in which there were no leaks, rumors, set photography, and for Spider-Man No Way Home, and they did the trailers in a way where you thought they didn't give away as much as they ended up doing in the trailer. We would have all absolutely lost our complete minds. Like, I would have forgiven them if they had filmed scenes for trailers that just made it look like a completely different movie. And none of what you saw in the trailer was actually in the movie. You would have lost your absolute mind.
Well, that was like with Book of Boba Fett. The trailer for Book of Boba Fett, we saw everything in the first 5 minutes of the first episode.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like, oh, that's how you're supposed to do a trailer.
Yeah.
Now I have no idea what's going on. Perfect. Let's go.
Yeah. Let's go. All right. Moving from one Batman story to another Batman story. We've talked about a number of times on this podcast, a in development new Batman animated series in the same vein as the famous Batman the Animated Series, even executive produced by Bruce Timm, the producer of that show and many other acclaimed animated DC projects. Batman the Caped Crusader is being produced by Bruce Timm, J.J. Abrams, and Matt Reeves, the director of the Batman. And J.J. Abrams, like, right, three pretty powerhouse producer team right there.
Yeah.
They've said that it's going to be like a noir, detective-y, kind of like Batman the Animated Series, but like literally aimed for an older audience, like a darker tone than Batman the Animated Series, which that's kind of tough for a Batman cartoon. I feel like pretty dark show.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got news this week that joining Batman Caped Crusader is the name of the show. Batman Caped Crusader is adding Ed FUCKING Brubaker as head writer. Pardon my French if there's any children listening, but Ed Brubaker is going to be the head writer of Batman Caped Crusader and the right-hand man of Bruce Timm. Who is Ed Brubaker? He is a famous comic book writer who is well known for writing a character-defining run on Catwoman, as well as creating the series Gotham Central, which is about the Gotham City Police Force. A lot of people thought the show Gotham was going to be basically an adaptation of that, and then it turned into insanity. But they're also doing another Gotham City Police show for HBO Max, so maybe that's going to be more, I don't know. He created Gotham Central. He's written a bunch of other Batman stories. He did a stint on Detective Comics. He's written the Dead Boy Detective series for DC. Over at Marvel, he did a huge run on Captain America, as well as co-created, I should say, the character of the Winter Soldier. And he also does a creator-owned book called Criminal, which is about crime stories, noir, thriller kind of stuff, which is super good.
Yep. He had some pretty notable Daredevil and Uncanny X-Men runs too.
Yes, that's true. Daredevil. But this is the dude that's going to be writing a new Batman animated show. Holy crap. Can you think of a better person to write a noir Batman dark animated series than Ed Brubaker?
No, there's no.
No.
I will yell no at you. There is not a better person to have signed on to this.
It's cool, so cool to me that they got a comic book writer to write this show. Like, they didn't go to like a TV writer. They didn't go to like, I'm sure that there are other writers on this show that have worked on previous Batman things. Or maybe they worked on Batman Brave and the Bold or Batman Beyond or even Batman the Animated Series. And Paul Dini maybe could be involved, and he's gone on to write comics and stuff like that too. But Ed Brubaker, I know, this is so cool. This is so cool. They got somebody of his like stature in the comic book industry to do this show. And if I wasn't as excited enough with Bruce Timm, Abrams, and Reeves being on board, like, you're giving me Ed Brubaker, what kind of this additionally tells me what the tone of the show is going to be, and I believe that tone is going to be dark and serious, gritty, detective, like, I don't know, a noir detective story, but like in such a way that it could be, I guess I don't know how adult they're going to make it, because it's not like Captain America comics are rated R or anything like that. And I don't expect this show to be like adults only, come with a warning on the front of it or anything like that.
Right.
But it just shows me how serious they're taking the tone of this show to get somebody like Ed Brubaker, for sure.
No, it really is going to be, with that production team and that, I mean, with Brubaker writing it, and I would assume, I have to assume they're going to get, a TV writer in there working with him too, just to,
I'm sure. Yeah.
I mean, they're different media. It's going to be like,
they said he's the head of the writer's room. So there is a room of writers, but he is the head writer.
Then I am all in. I was in before. I was all in before, and now I'm happily skipping to HBO Max whenever this comes out.
Yeah, for sure. I am 100% in. The only thing that could make me more excited for this is if they get Kevin Conroy to do the voice of Batman.
Which they probably haven't announced. I
am kind of hoping that's the case. And if that's the case, there's a good chance that we're going to get Mark Hamill as the Joker, I feel like.
And that would be the icing on the cake.
I don't know. That's really just me excited and hoping that that's what they do. They haven't indicated that at all.
No, but I mean, Hamill, if they remotely think of approaching him, he's stated numerous times how much he loved his stint as Joker. Like, that was defining voice work for him. Yeah, and defining voice work for Joker.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
So
yeah, like it takes a lot for Mark Hamill to do something that, reaches that is as close as this is to reaching the iconic status of him playing Luke Skywalker.
Right.
And that's him voicing the Joker in animated DC stuff. Like, I never would have thought that was him. And I remember my mind was blown when I realized that's who it was when I was a kid. I was like, that's Luke Skywalker.
That's amazing.
I was like, Mark Hamill's back in my life in a way that I absolutely love, because that was still during, I did not think I was ever going to see more Luke Skywalker in any Star Wars movie. But yeah, anyway, I'm very excited about this. So that is all the TV and movie stuff we got for this week. We got some comics news. Last release. Okay, go ahead. What you got?
Before the segue, I did realize that I screwed up in the beginning and went with Grief Cargo when I should have. You mentioned Bucky Barnes, and the mustache is 100% Dum Dum Dugan from the Howling Commandos.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I get that one. I get that reference. Jeff Lemire, speaking of famed comic book authors, Jeff Lemire has signed an exclusive deal with Image Comics. That's surprising. He's the creator of Sweet Tooth and Black Hammer, both very successful runs. Sweet Tooth just adapted into a Netflix series. Sweet Tooth is done through DC. Black Hammer, is Black Hammer Image? I think Black Hammer might be.
It might be
Image. Anyway, but anyway, Jeff Lemire is also writing a mini series for DC right now called Robin and Batman, which is very good.
Black Hammer is Dark Horse.
Dark Horse. Okay, I knew it wasn't Marvel or DC. But clearly, any work he's done for work for DC, he's done work for Marvel. Clearly, all that's over.
He did the defining the Old Man Logan.
Yeah,
that turned into Logan.
Right. Yeah, I forgot that he did that too. Yep. So that's all over. He's going to be exclusive with Image, but this is for print books only because, as we know, Jeff Lemire signed an exclusive digital contract with Substack, the newsletter series. It was back when we had that big story about Substack stealing all these high-profile Marvel and DC writers to write for their digital newsletter service.
Yeah.
Does this mean that that's not cutting it for Jeff Lemire?
Well, what I've been seeing a lot of is the Substack deals seem to be like, I know Zdarsky's and I think Cates and Stegman had something similar. They're going to be digital through this, and then distribution rights are through IDW or Dark Horse. Sure. So once it goes physical, I think there's more leeway to. Yeah, it's not going to be with the big two, but there's more leeway in the indie world as to where they can run it in print after an exclusive period on the digital. So I think this might be something along those lines.
Yeah, but then why sign? Well, I guess he was still doing other work. No, okay. It's not like he was exclusive to Substack and is breaking that because it's not like as what he thought or something. So that makes sense because he was still obviously doing stuff for DC and other things along the way.
Right, but, and this may even include his Substack books, or hey,
I guess that's true.
When the exclusivity is done on the digital, we'll exclusively bring them to Image rather than shop them around to one of the other indies.
That's true. True, could be.
Maybe
who knows?
Maybe he could have even shopped them out to Syracuse Native Ahoy.
Oh, that'd be great. Ahoy Comics. Shout out to Ahoy Comics. Tom Pyre. Yeah, they're doing some great work at Ahoy Comics. I got to read more of their stuff.
I was thinking that the other day.
Big fan of Edgar Allan Poe's Snifter of Terror, though. I got to say, that's a good book.
I have heard nothing but good things.
Yeah. Also, #Danger was very good. Speaking of Image Comics workers have officially voted to unionize. We talked about this a few months ago when they first were talking about forming a union. They have officially unionized. It does not include creators because those people are considered freelancers because they're not, on staff all the time. Image just hires them to do certain runs or whatever.
Yep.
But this includes people that are in editorial, production, sales, and like accounting offices, like production offices, things like that. They said the goals of the union included salary and workload transparency, better communication with staff, increased staff diversity, the continued option for remote work, and the inclusion of an option for staff to cancel publication of comics by creators who had engaged in abusive, racist, or otherwise harmful behavior. Wow, what a clause that is. And good for them because wasn't it, I don't want to say the wrong name, was it Warren Ellis that was working for Image?
Yeah, that sounds
when it came out that he was the monster. I think it was Warren Ellis that there was like he had faced okay, yeah, he had like left the industry, or he had been kind of like blacklisted for a little bit because of his actions, and then it resurfaced because he signed a deal with Image, and people were like, why are you hiring this guy? He's a monster.
Right.
Or an abusive predator, I guess I should say, to be more specific. Don't want to give monsters a bad name. Yeah, so I think that's a good clause, and congratulations to the workers of Image Comics for unionizing. I feel like that's something that I used to see online all the time. You used to see people like on Twitter saying like, comics need a union, comics need a union. Well, now you got one. There's precedent. So we'll see if this bleeds over. Yeah, baby steps. We'll see if it bleeds over into anything else. This week, coming out this Wednesday in comic book stores all around the world, and one near you as well, we got Batgirls #2, Daredevil, Woman Without Fear #1, Chip Zdarsky, Department of Truth #15, Fantastic Four 39, The Good Asian #8, King of Spies #2, Ms. Marvel Beyond the Limit #2, the aforementioned Robin and Batman #3, 3 of 3 comes out this week. Star Wars High Republic Adventures #12, Undiscovered Country #18, Wastelanders Black Widow. Marvel's cranking out all these Wastelanders books week to week. We Ride Titans #1 and X-Men Legends #10. Lots of stuff cool coming out in comic book stores this week.
Absolutely.
And since I didn't specifically mention Amazing Spider-Man, you know that there is one coming out this week. We've gone through I will only mention when it's not coming out so often. So we'll see.
The race to 100 is on.
We'll see how long I remember to do that.
Yeah. I'm still just counting down until X-Men Legends 12, which is the return of Chris Claremont.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So, one shot, which I think he said was going to be Nightcrawler and Kitty, which would fit for him. So, I am excited.
I agree. Me too. Cool. Well, I want to move into some one-shots.
Might as well.
As I scramble to put our names on them so we know who's supposed to read what, because I forgot to do that earlier.
Well, you know, it happens to the best of us.
Yeah. Well, Steve, we did our best of 2021 last week, and you put a little Amazon Prime animated show on yours, so I'm going to let you kick this off, which is kind of
disappointing.
Bad news.
Yeah.
Disappointing news.
So it did come out that Steven Yeun said that Invisible. Wow, different show. Invincible season 2, which Invincible season 1 was the top of my TV list. You can check that out last week from 2021. Invincible season 2 has not started production. Scripts are being written, but no voice recording has occurred yet.
Boo. That's a bummer. Mm-hmm. Speaking of things that haven't started being made yet, Gal Gadot has given us an update on Wonder Woman 3, saying, working on the script right now. Will probably start in a year and a half or so. That is a long time, and that is a bummer, but does it give Patty Jenkins time to make Rogue Squadron?
It may. I just watched Gal Gadot last night in a movie with The Rock and Ryan Reynolds. It wasn't a great movie.
Okay, I heard it wasn't very good.
Yeah.
Red
Notice. Yep.
Yeah. I've heard it's not great.
It was okay. Nothing, no rave reviews.
Right. I mean, those are three gorgeous people in a movie together, so at least you got that going for it, I guess.
Right, and you had Ryan Reynolds doing Ryan Reynolds things, so it was enjoyable at least for that. So
sure,
there you go. In other news, Star Trek Picard has shut down production on season 3 due to a COVID outbreak on set. Apparently, 50 people have tested positive, which that's not a small number.
And that's like, 50 confirmed people have tested positive.
Right.
So there's going to be fallout from that. That's a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's not, that's going to get pushed.
Yeah. I don't think there's been word on whether or not any of those people were, why am I blanking on his fucking name?
I just keep wanting to say Jean-Luc Picard.
Yeah, that's the only name I can think of, honestly.
Charles Xavier?
Patrick Stewart.
There you go.
Stewart. Jesus.
Sir Patrick Stewart has been reduced to Jean-Luc Picard and Charles Xavier.
Literally, over and over in my head, I just kept saying, Picard. His name's Picard. Say Picard. Picard. I'm like, no, it's not his fucking name.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, that's a bummer. And since we already talked about Spider-Man No Way Home entering the top 10 all-time global box office, our last one-shot of the week will be that Netflix is developing a Scott Pilgrim animated series, executive produced by the creator of the comic series, Brian O'Malley, and a guy named Ben David Grabinski. This will be the second adaptation of Scott Pilgrim. The first one being Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and in my opinion, incredible film made by
absolutely.
Edgar Wright. When was that? When did that come out? 10 years ago? 15 years ago?
More than that. I think it might have been right after we were in college.
God, that movie's so good.
Yeah. I actually, the other day, somebody was talking to me about that they were like, I've got this like guilty pleasure movie that I always go back to. And they're like, Scott Pilgrim versus the World. You ever heard of it? I'm like, yes, I have.
Pleasure. Guilty pleasure. That movie is straight up fantastic.
Absolutely.
Don't call that movie a guilty pleasure. My God.
You know, I had just met the guy. He didn't know what.
Sure, yeah.
He didn't know I host a podcast about this stuff.
I just feel
I don't lead with that when I meet people.
Podcast or no, that is a movie that you should be proud of.
It is an absolute.
So good. It's so funny and so visually just interesting and cool and fun and oh my God, it's so good. It's gonna make me want to go watch it right after this podcast. But I honestly I have heard from people that are diehard fans of the book that they didn't really like the movie because it took certain liberties and it wasn't like a faithful adaptation. I wasn't someone that had read the books at the time that I had seen the movie, so I was like, this movie is incredible. I don't know. I guess I knew that it was based on a comic book when I saw it, but I hadn't read it for sure, so I didn't know. I was like, oh, this is incredible.
So I'm gonna rant for a minute on this because
do it.
One thing that I've come to despise about most fandoms is not liking an adaptation because it's different than the source material.
Oh yeah,
and it's like I get it with like Game of Thrones where they went completely off the rails and it turned into not a good show. But like Wheel of Time, the adaptation, there's a lot of people online that are very much anti what they're doing because it doesn't make sense according to the books. I am of the ilk of it's entertaining television, and you have 1,400 pages of book to turn into an 8-episode series. You gotta take some liberties. You know, the guy's liberties that he took were possibly questionable in some cases, but it's like you give him the benefit of the doubt. And in a lot of these series, it's kind of the same way. Like the Hawkeye series wasn't direct from David Aja and Matt Fraction. It was well influenced,
a lot of influence,
it's
WandaVision.
Like,
but that's the same kind of thing where you're saying like, this book is this long, they have to condense it into like this amount of episode. Hawkeye is the same thing where like not only is that clearly they're taking inspiration from that one run, but that's a situation where they also have to take into account the history of the character in the MCU and the history of the character in 50 years of comic books or however long he's been around. Like, there's a lot that they're balancing. They can't make a word for word adaptation of the run of the book, Fraction and Aja run, because that would be 1, boring, and 2, way too long and impossible and wouldn't make sense in the MCU. So like,
and if they did, it would literally just be an entire episode of people saying bro. But
yeah, exactly. But that's the same with like like you're saying Wheel of Time or Game of Thrones. Like they can't make a word for word, page by page adaptation of these books because the books are super long, super in depth, and if they did that, it would be boring because a TV show or a movie is a different medium than a book, than a written word. And there's so much, you can do so many different things in each medium. You have to view it from a different way. I feel like there are two, I think these are adaptations of comic books that I think were done very, very well, but also changed dramatically, but in a way that benefited that certain adaptation. They're both Netflix shows now that I think about it. Umbrella Academy. I'm a big fan of the Gerard Way and Gabriel Ba books, the Umbrella Academy. I think they're great. The Netflix show, radically different, but also very, very good. Right. And I feel like the changes that they made, they had to make in order to make it fit a 13 episode serialized television show. and they couldn't just like blurt out all this history at you, and they couldn't have Space Boy be 9 feet tall with a giant crazy space gorilla body, because that just wouldn't have worked in like live. It just doesn't work. Like there's certain things you can, in comics, you can do literally anything, and literally anything doesn't transfer that well to live action television. The other adaptation is Sweet Tooth, as another Netflix adaptation. I've said this before, where I think the source material, the book, is very dark. It's like hard R rated. It's often bleak is the word I will use, bleak. They found a way to transform that into a generally optimistic, positive outlook show that appeals to more people, and that's going to turn some people off that are big fans of the bleakness and the darkness of the book. But they just do it in such an engaging, watchable way that I think it elevates the good parts of the book, and it makes it a better TV show than it would have otherwise. And again, I'm not out to upset any Zack Snyder fans, but an example on the opposite end of the spectrum of this, for me, is Zack Snyder's adaptation of Watchmen, the movie in which he tried to word for word, page by page, frame by frame, film that graphic novel, which did not work for me. The pacing was weird. It was slow. And for me, someone that has read the book multiple times, it was boring, because I knew exactly what was going to happen at every turn, and there was no twists. There was no surprises. Everything that I knew was going to happen happened. And I was like, yep, I know that story. I didn't enjoy the movie because I've read it before. There's nothing new about it, which is something I like about the MCU in general, where they take, we're going to do Civil War, but it's not going to be exactly the same thing as Civil War. You know what I mean? They'll take like ideas from certain runs. It's not the exact same thing. There's twists, there's turns, but it's like the spirit of the thing. Right.
Iron Man 2, they take pieces of Demon in a Bottle. They take stuff from various runs. You know,
like the Christopher Nolan movies, like they pull from Long Halloween, and the Batman movies, I should say, not just Christopher Nolan movies in general. Yeah, Christopher Nolan Batman movies, to specify. They pull from Long Halloween, they pull from Year One and stuff like that. They pull from, Batman vs Superman pulled a lot from Dark Knight Returns, clearly. But they didn't adapt those things word for word, which make them more interesting movies, I believe. And it also, you said it was going to be your rant. It has turned into my rant.
You've usurped it, and I'm fine with it, because I'm right with you.
I'm sorry. You can add anything else you want. I've totally stolen your rant. I apologize. Similar, like, other side of the coin here, I also get annoyed at fandoms for complaining. Well, I guess it's the same thing that you said, complaining when they make changes to source material. Because, like, people do that with characters that we're talking about, like Batman. This is a character that's been published for over 80 years. And you can walk into a comic book store right now, let alone any other time in the last 80 years, and find 5 different versions of Batman stories being told right now. And so I feel like people that get mad that Robert Pattinson looks different than Ben Affleck, looks different than Michael Keaton, looks different than Christian Bale, the suit is different, or they're doing this, or they are acting a different way, or they're not dark enough, or they're not jokey enough, or they're not whatever. Like, all these different versions of this character have already existed. And it can be so many different things, because it has already been so many different things. This is just a different thing. If you see the Robert Pattinson Batman and you don't like it, then you still can watch your Ben Affleck movies, or you can still watch your Christian Bale movies. If you hated Michael Keaton but loved Christian Bale, then you never have to watch the Tim Burton Batman movies again. Like, that's fine, man. It's all out there. Like, people that complain about stuff like that, to me, is like, you have never read a comic book in your life, because this shit changes in comics all the time. It's constantly changing. When it changes underneath another change, like someone will be like, okay, I'm going to write this version of Batman, and be like, well, I'm going to write this version of Batman. And they're both on stands at the same time. It's just like, you get to pick.
Hi, I'm an X-Men fan.
Right? Right?
Literally.
That's insane continuity.
Oh, God. It's trying to understand X-Men continuity would be, I mean, there's literally, Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men. Go listen to it. Awesome podcast that goes, saga by saga, book by book. You need something like that, because everything else is really convoluted and nothing makes sense. And, we have alternate realities in comics. Like, there's literal alternate timelines, and people are complaining that, it wasn't verbatim what they read in the book, and
yeah,
I don't know.
the one run that you read that you really like. I'm sorry that they didn't adapt that one run.
Right.
There's 60 other years of X-Men books that they're trying to pull from. So maybe read one of those. Maybe you'll like that too.
Now, to be fair, some of the X-Men adaptations have, bastardized some of those runs that were.
No, I agree.
But High
X-Men
Apocalypse.
X-Men is a worse example than something like
right. Than the Nolan verse or.
Well, the thing, X-Men has been like one. It's insane, but it's one movie continuity. Somehow, Batman has been like reinvented, so many times on screen that I don't understand why people still get mad about it. It's like, they'll make 3 Robert Pattinson movies. Maybe he goes on, maybe he doesn't. But like, next year we're getting 3 Batman on film. Right. We're seeing Robert Pattinson, Michael Keaton, and Ben Affleck. So
and an animated version.
And animated. So settle down. It's gonna be fine, dude. It's gonna be fine. So. Anyway, thanks for that rant.
No problem. That's what we're here for. I
didn't think I was going to get that passionate about that when you started talking, and then I dove in and couldn't stop. Sorry if I upset anybody.
I mean, in all honesty, it really just bothers me. So I'm glad we ranted.
It clearly bothers me too. I'm sorry that I stole your rant. Are we going to get into?
Yeah, I'd say we head it towards Boba Fett. Have you seen it yet?
Boba Fett seen it yet?
I like it.
If not, jump off right now.
If not, you might want to jet.
Hey, there you go.
So, if you're leaving before we talk season 1, episode 2 of Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett, feel free to exit in about 3 seconds after I tell you to like, subscribe, follow on your various platforms. Leave us a review on iTunes. Really helps us out. And yeah, tune in next week. We're around themultiversereport.com. Multiverse Report on any socials, Twitter, Multiverse RPT, and until next week.
Yeah, tweet at us, add us, tag us, send us a message, whatever you want to do. And for those people that are leaving, we'll see you next time around the multiverse. For those people that are staying, Boba Fett, seen it yet? I have. Have you, Steve?
I have.
What did you think of Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett, Season 2? Sorry, episode 2.
Jeez, neither of us are on our game here.
I know. Jesus.
So I thought the first episode was filler and setup, and I thought the second episode brought it home to a degree, or at least brought it home for the rest of the season.
Sure.
Are we going heavy spoilers now? Hard spoilers, go?
We told everyone else to leave, so if they're still here, they're getting spoilers. That's why we told them to leave, right?
I mean, you're talking to the guy who just spoiled No Way Home for everybody, so it's fine.
Is there a way... Okay, yeah. Is there a way we could cut that out, the spoiler that you dropped earlier? Could you do a quick edit?
If I could find it, maybe. I don't even remember when I said it.
I would just feel real bad if that stayed in there. If you're listening to this now and you didn't hear Steve drop a huge No Way Home spoiler earlier, then he cut it out already.
Yeah. So I'll see what I can do, but I know we can on Twitch, but
yeah, that's true. Yeah, live people. Sorry about that. But
yeah, either way, the Hutts,
so cool.
They're back.
So cool. I love seeing more Hutts because like it was only recently, really, because I didn't watch Clone Wars until 2 years ago.
Yep.
Maybe like it was during or not even 2 years ago, a year ago. Mm-hmm. I watched it during the pandemic, or when during the 2020 when the pandemic started.
The first pandemic.
The initial wave.
1.0.
And it took me that long in my life from seeing Return of the Jedi when I was a kid to realize that there were more than one Hutt. More
than just Jabba?
Well, you know what? I guess that's not true because I saw a female one in Phantom Menace, but I really thought that was just the two of them. I didn't think about it. I was like, yeah, there's probably... Here's what I guess I assumed there were other like giant slug creatures out there.
Right.
But I didn't know that they were all one giant crime family. That was the thing that surprised me about Clone Wars.
The Hutt Cartel and the Crymora Syndicate and all that.
Yeah.
And, yep.
But now that I know that, I was like, hell yeah, more Hutts. This is awesome. Give me more giant slugs that that talking,
Yep.
like I'm into that. I love Return of the Jedi so much. Like, give me more flavors of that. And that's one thing that I like about the show in general. I like any scene that is taking place in Jabba's palace, because I was like, I haven't been like, I've obviously watched Return of the Jedi many times, but like there's part of me inside my heart that's like, I haven't been here since I was 10 years old. You know what I mean? Like, and I just get excited seeing. I gotta know if they use the same set, if they rebuilt it. Like, there's no way that that set is still around, right?
I don't know. I really have no idea.
Or it's how much of it is the CGI, or like the, what do they call it, the volume?
Oh yeah,
thing that they use.
Yep. Disney's super screen thing.
Yeah.
Also, so, randomly, my 4-year-old is obsessed with Jabba.
Oh, awesome.
We have like a character encyclopedia, and he has a book that Jabba's in, and every time, is that the guy who eats the frogs? I was like, yes, buddy, yes, it is.
My son goes through weird periods of like seemingly really being into Star Wars, and then just like not. I'm like, hey, do you want to watch this cartoon? And be like, no. I'm like, okay. Like I recently started trying to get him to watch the Resistance show. Yeah. Because that's made for like younger. Oh yeah, kids.
That'd be perfect for his age group.
He's like, nah, I don't really want to. I'm like,
right.
Okay.
Well, that's Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends right now is on hiatus. Yeah. Like, it's on hold for me because Muppet Babies is leading the charge. So
yeah,
we went Bluey and
you don't want to push it. You don't want to push it too much. But you wanted to like remind them, like, yo, this is here if you want to listen.
Well, half of it is just me not wanting to watch more Muppet Babies, because when you've seen when you've seen all of them 3 times, it's its own animal. But
shout out real quick to the original series of Muppet Babies that had one episode where it was a Star Wars parody, and they showed clips from like Empire and other Star Wars films. They would like open a door and there'd be like TIE fighters screaming by. Oh my god, I loved that episode so much when I was a kid. Possible that I hadn't even seen Star Wars when I saw that, or I maybe only seen the first one and not Empire or whatever. But like I remember there was like showed Yoda going like, come,
Yep.
And
there's a Cloud City scene.
Guy?
Yep.
Yeah, I was like, what is this? I need more of this. So like, shout out to Muppet Babies for furthering my love of Star Wars indirectly.
Bringing it back to Star Wars.
Speaking of Star Wars, okay, pronounce for me, because I don't know how to do it, the name of everybody's new favorite Wookiee character.
I was just gonna say, I know you haven't read it because it's in your stack over here of things I haven't given to you.
I looked it up though, because I saw a lot of people flipping out about the Wookiee bounty hunter, Black Christian.
I've always mentally, because again, I've only ever read it, so it's always been Kirsten to me, but I don't know.
Black Kirsten Stan.
Kirsten Stan.
Kirsten Tan. Whatever. Something like that. We'll find out.
Whenever they say it, I was sitting there like it was one of those moments of nerddom where my wife's sitting next to me, and I had that like giddy like ha. Yeah. It was the Leo DiCaprio gif of like pointing at the screen like ha, I know that. And she's like, what? I'm like, just don't. You're not gonna. I'm not even gonna bother explaining to it. But Black Kirsten said, yeah, go for it.
Sorry, you go ahead. No, you go ahead.
So historically, like, he was a character in actually debuted in, I believe, the original Kieran Gillen Darth Vader run as a foil with or as I want to say he may have actually fought Boba Fett before signing on with Afra, but has a long history with Boba Fett as well as Dr. Afra, who has become a fan favorite character in various comic runs and whatnot. So there's in print there's a lot of history between Afra and the bounty hunter community and Black Kirsten, and seeing him live action was just like one of those moments where I'm like, this is just cool, and half the people are gonna have no idea that this is anything other than an awesome looking black-haired Wookiee.
He looked so dope, and I looked him up immediately afterwards because I was like, I don't know this character, but they gave him such an intro that I was like, this dude is important. Like I can tell, like there are people that know this character, even though I don't. Like they're just like slow motion, just let him take his time walking out there. I was like, this is either he's somebody now or he's going to be somebody. And clearly, I think both are the case for this show. And obviously, he's already a big hit in the comic books. I never thought I wanted or would enjoy or would get such an exploration of the culture of Tusken Raiders than we've gotten in, especially this show, but also in Mandalorian. In the first episode of Mando season 2, we got a lot of them working together with Tusken Raiders. It's sand people. But like, I never thought that I would be interested in those characters at all. And it's cool that it took them. I mean, they're in Attack of the Clones, but like they're just there to like get slaughtered. Basically, we don't.
Well, and they're at the pod race. They shoot at the pod racers.
Yeah, but they're just like doing the same thing they did in episode 4, basically, in New Hope, basically. Yeah. I always thought they would just be like side reference, like, oh yeah, sand people, or oh yeah, Tusken Raiders, whatever. But it's like, oh, we're getting to know them as people, which is so cool because they've been around since 1977. Yeah, and there's never been we never gotten any more out of them. Like, who's was it Filoni or Favreau? Whose idea was it to be like, let's really explore these people, right? And that's like it's just a surprising decision to me, but one that is very interesting. Now
in the EU there was actually a Jedi, a Tusken Jedi.
Really? Yeah, that's cool.
Asherad Het, who ended up becoming a Dark Lord of the Sith and whatnot. But
bummer.
Bummer. Asherad Het, yeah, long story. Whatever. Read the Legacy comics, it's fun.
All right. I did think that this episode reminded me a little bit of the episode of Mandalorian where he lands on that like remote planet and he has to help that tribe stop that ATST. Remember that? I was like, I have to train these people that aren't warriors to become warriors, and it was kind of like, well, these people are warriors, but they just need to learn this like technology. Like I was like, that's kind of similar.
But at least with this one, it brought home like. It wasn't just a random group of people like in Mando. It was like, oh, these people that we already know as a primitive society are basically like, when you look at the dialogue, it was just them saying, well, they've got machines and we don't.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It was just like nobody ever taught them what to do.
Yeah. I like this show. I feel like, I mean, clearly they're doing like a main timeline and flashback timeline, and the flashback timeline is going to end up meeting up to where we met him in Mandalorian, basically. Right. It's like, okay, am I the only one? I feel like I saw people online theorizing about how Boba Fett met up with Fennec, but we know that. Am I wrong? Don't we? We know that already.
She found him, right? Or no.
Well,
she found Mando.
The Mandalorian left her for dead in the desert, and he found her there, and he saved her.
Right. That's right? What.
Like we see somebody that we don't know who it is,
and you hear the spurs.
Like, pick her up or whatever, or like offer her a hand or something.
Yep.
And then we see the two of them show up together, and she's like, "Yeah, you saved my life" or something. Like, I'm not crazy, right?
No, it was the end of the episode. Yeah, Din Djarin left her for dead, and then you see the shadow, and like maybe it's his, like you see the shadow of his boots or something, and you hear the spurs. That like you always hear when Boba Fett's walking, and
that's what I thought too.
Yeah,
I saw people like debating it online. I was like, I'm pretty sure we already know that. Like they were debating like theories, like no, it's going to be this, and I was like,
I think we already got that
there, dude. Yeah. Anyway, I really like all the flashback stuff. I am more interested in the main timeline stuff.
Yes.
And I wish they were spending more time there, because so far both episodes have been like a little bit, here's what's going on, but here's what happened to him. And I'm like, okay, I get, he crawled out of the Sarlacc pit. The Tusken Raiders helped them, like, great. And it's cool. Like all the Tusken Raider stuff is cool. And I like that. But like, I would rather see him like figuring out what's going on with like the twin huts and the mayor and all that stuff. Like, this is what I'm more interested in. I kind of want more of this. So,
and that male Ithorian, or the Ithorian mayor was just awesome.
So cool. Yeah, so cool. Like, I love that it wasn't a human being or human-esque mayor. That was awesome.
I would be curious if we don't see moving forward, like maybe even next week, they wrap up the flashbacks or at least by episode 4, and then it goes, because you're kind of seeing the shift in. Because I rewatched it with my wife because she didn't watch the first episode. You're seeing the shift in the second one, it was slightly less flashback, even though it was still a lot of flashback. And I got a hunch you're going to keep seeing that kind of push or
I would think so as we get closer.
By episode 4 at latest or something. Yeah.
All right. Is it all? I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to even say this because I guess for so long, Boba Fett has been painted as this like badass, ruthless bounty hunter. And even when we see him as a young kid in like Clone Wars or Rebels, like he's still kind of an asshole, like he's still like hardcore, like criminal. But then in this, as an adult, he climbs out of the Sarlacc pit and he's all like, no, respect. And, we're going to try not to use violence and not be like a murderous, whatever. It's like, I kind of thought, like, I'm getting like prequel Darth Vader vibes where I'm like, I thought you were going to be an asshole bad guy kind of. And you're kind of like, they're doing the thing where like, well, we can't have a bad guy be the star of the show. So we have to make him kind of a good guy. And I'm kind of like, I would like to see you be a little more ruthless. Like, and I get like, it's cool that he's like bucking the trend of like Jabba the Hutt being an asshole that just murdered people and ate frogs and stuff. But like, maybe Boba Fett eats frogs. I don't know. Probably not. But
the jar they were living in is probably floating around the palace somewhere. So
yeah. Anyway, and not that it's even that big of a deal because it's not like I hold the character of Boba Fett up as high as I would hold somebody like Luke Skywalker or Han Solo or something like that. But it's just like, I thought you were going to be more. I guess I thought I'd see more like badass bounty hunter murdering. I don't know, like more scoundrel and less benevolent ruler of Tatooine. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, and even in Mandalorian, you saw him come back with more of that indifferent, like respectful attitude. And I don't know.
Yeah, but he also like mercilessly blows the hell out of a bunch of stormtroopers the first time we see him back in action. And he's done some cool fighting obviously in this show, but like when he became a ruler, I'm just surprised that he's so like going the way of respect and benevolence and not like.
Well, and here's where the flashbacks come in handy because I'm pretty sure that is actually that is tied to why he's in the back to tank so much. And I got a hunch that's true. It might be he's changing his tact because, hey, I can't get in these fights anymore because,
Yep. You know what?
I took on 3 guys and I have to go back in the tank.
Great point. So,
more to come.
Right. More to come on Boba Fett. Seen it yet?
I like it.
That's all I got for this week. You got anything else?
No, I think that's about a wrap.
All right, cool. Well, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Follow us on the socials and all those things. Twitter and Instagram. You can find us. We're there. No big deal. And that's all I got for this week. So until next time, we'll see you around the multiverse.